The story begins by introducing a young boy named Lucas, who is at a lab with his father, Frank Hyber. Frank asks Lucas to stay outside while he goes inside to take care of some work. Once inside, Lucas hears strange noises, but because it's dark, he can't see anything clearly and decides to ignore it. This isn't an ordinary lab, it's a place where a synthetic drug called vitamin is legally produced. While Frank is busy working with his partner, they suddenly hear a noise from the lab. When they go to check, a mysterious creature attacks them. The story then jumps 3 weeks ahead. We meet a woman named Julia, who is a school teacher. She teaches at a local school, and Lucas is one of her students. He often seems distracted and lost in thought. One day, after school, Lucas is heading home when something unusual happens on his way. On his way home, Lucas finds a small animal, which he kills and takes back to his house, keeping it in a banned room. Meanwhile, we see Julia at her own home, managing her household. Her mother suggests she take a bottle of liquor, but Julia keeps control and refuses. After returning home, she goes straight to her piano, where a flashback of her childhood shows a young Julia hiding quietly, scared of something. Soon, her brother Paul arrives at the house. Julia had come to live with him because her father used to abuse her. Paul asks how she's adjusting, and Julia says she is slowly getting used to living there. The next day at school, Julia is reading a story to her class and asks Lucas to listen. He listens to a tale about a family of 3 bears, Father Bear, Big Bear, and Baby Bear. One day, Big Bear comes home and notices that both Baby Bear and Father Bear seem. In the story Lucas is listening to, he notices that Father Bear has become very angry because things at home have gone wrong, and it seems something bad has already happened inside. While hearing the story, we also get a glimpse of Lucas's notebook, which has some strange drawings. Julia finds the story unusual and odd as well. Later, one of the students starts asking Lucas questions, and Julia steps in to stop the confrontation. Afterwards, Julia takes Lucas to a nurse. The nurse notices strange marks on Lucas's body, marks that are definitely not normal. Julia then calls Lucas's home and finds his father in the banned room acting like an animal, with blackened eyes. No one answers the phone. Meanwhile, Lucas is heading home, and Julia follows him. Lucas stops outside an ice cream parlor, staring at the ice cream. Julia goes to him, gives him some ice cream, and starts asking him questions. Julia asks Lucas who all lives in his house. Lucas explains that his mother passed away some time ago and that he lives there with his little brother Adam and their father. Adam usually stays close to their father. Julia then asks what his father does, but Lucas doesn't answer and quietly walks toward his home. On the way, he puts a dead animal into a bag. Meanwhile, Julia arrives at his house and hears strange growling noises coming from inside. She notices the door is open and, feeling uneasy, leaves. Back at another location, Julia sees a drawing Lucas made. In it, a boy is trapped inside a monster. Julia doesn't understand the meaning of the drawing. At Lucas's home, he prepares the dead animal to give to his father. Here, we see both of them for the first time, Frank, who has clearly changed and become darker, and Adam, who seems completely normal. Lucas feeds Adam, while his father's presence remains unsettling. Lucas is told to take the dead glucose outside, but as he starts eating, his father glares at him. Feeling uneasy, Lucas leaves the room. Adam then mentions that he's hungry, but Lucas ignores him. Meanwhile, Julia is at her home, playing the piano, when visions of her father's abuse come back to her, reminding her of the trouble she always faced. Paul arrives, and they start talking. Julia tells Paul about Frank Hyber's son, who is a student at her school. She explains that Lucas often seems distracted and lost, and she suspects he might be facing some problems. Julia also mentions that she had visited Frank's house and noticed something strange happening there, which unsettled her. Paul, a kind local, explains that Frank often used to drink and had once threatened him. However, because Frank was the only parent for his children, he was never stopped. Paul then takes Julia away from Frank's house for her safety. The next day, Lucas is setting up traps in the forest when he sees a man. At the same time, Julia is at school going through Lucas's desk. She finds some books and a drawing that shows traps and strange animals. Julia shows this to the school principal and suggests that Lucas might be experiencing some kind of abuse. Thinking back to her own childhood, Julia feels concerned for him. Meanwhile, we see Eden, who mentions that something bad has happened with a God figure, and Lucas tries to comfort him. Suddenly, a black, mysterious liquid starts flowing from somewhere, which scares Lucas and makes him run away. At the same time, Julia meets Paul, who tells her that Warren Safe, a local sheriff, discovered a dead body in the forest, and they have been investigating it. The police, including Paul, check the dead body and file a report. At first, they think it might be an animal, but the forensic report shows human-like features, which shocks them. In the next scene, at school, Lucas creates a mask of a strange creature and isolates himself. Julia is focused entirely on him. Meanwhile, at home, the principal hears the growling noises and goes into the band room. There, she finds Adam and Frank, whose chest is grotesquely deformed. Frank suddenly attacks her, killing her. Strange things start happening to Frank's hands, and horrifying creatures emerge from him. Seeing this, Adam runs away, and because the gate is unlocked, Frank also leaves. It becomes clear that Frank has transformed into a very dangerous creature. In the next scene, Paul and the other officers try to handle the situation. Paul and the other officers go to Frank's lab, where Frank used to experiment. They find a strange bundle, which is the same one Lucas had seen outside the band room at his house. Paul explains that the bundle is used to protect something or someone, and they also find a piece of cloth, which he keeps with him. Suddenly, Paul receives a message about a missing person and has to leave immediately. Meanwhile, Lucas is heading home when a bully on the street starts bothering him. Suddenly, a creature appears and attacks the bully, killing him. Scared, Lucas runs to save himself. When he reaches home, he sees the ghost of the school principal. Inside the house, he finds blood everywhere, and both Frank and Roden are missing. Lucas quickly hides and starts cleaning up the blood. Meanwhile, Paul goes to check on Eden. Paul tells Julia about the missing person report. Julia explains that they had discussed Frank's situation the day before. The next day, Paul and his partner go to Frank's house, where a strong, foul smell makes them realize that something is seriously wrong. They decide to return the following day with a warrant. The next day, Paul receives a report about another missing person. Hearing this, Julia starts suspecting Lucas. She goes to Frank's house again and finds the ghost hiding there. Julia calls the police, and when they arrive, they discover the ghost's body as well as Frank's torn and lifeless body. After this, Lucas is taken to the hospital. The doctors tell Julia and Paul that it's possible Lucas was abused in some way. This shocking news causes tension and worry between Julia and Paul. Julia and Paul feel tense because Julia relates to Lucas. She had also faced abuse as a child. Meanwhile, Lucas is shown recalling earlier visions from when he first came home from Frank's house. He is extremely frightened and locks himself in a room, warning his siblings not to enter no matter what happens. Adam also becomes frightened, and Frank ends up locking him in the room as well. It becomes clear that whatever presence was inside Frank had also taken control of Adam, which is why they stayed confined in the band room. In the next scene, Julia and Paul go to the lab where research was being done. Here, the true story is revealed. They learn that the creature Lucas had encountered is a Wendigo, a supernatural being that had existed in the world many years ago. The Wendigo had stopped hunting for a long time but eventually began attacking women to feed itself. Its lifespan and its patterns of hunting are explained in more detail. The Wendigo had been driven mad by a substance called blue, which gave it power. After it started hunting women, it disappeared into the market, searching for new prey and continuing its hunt. People at the time had tried to stop the Wendigo. One Wendigo survived, weakened, when it fed on human flesh. This revealed its biggest weakness: if attacked at the right moment, when its heart is exposed, it can be killed. Paul finds this hard to believe, but Julia understands and trusts the explanation. They head back home, but on the way, Paul receives a message about another dead body. When they check, they discover it is not just anyone, it's the client who had been killed by Frank, who had become a dangerous creature. Even after seeing this, Paul struggles to fully believe it, while Julia insists it could be true, especially since Eden is still missing. After this, they both take Lucas home. Julia takes Lucas home and then goes to meet Paul, while his partner waits outside. At home, Julia tells Lucas that his date is over, but Lucas says that his old date had already passed, and he plans to get a new one soon. Outside, strange Wendigo noises are heard, which Paul's partner notices. When he goes to check, he finds Adam and is about to explain something to Paul, but the Wendigo attacks and kills him. Meanwhile, Julia hides Lucas as the Wendigo moves through the house. As it checks the area, it suddenly attacks Paul, injuring him. While trying to defend himself, Paul strikes the Wendigo, forcing it to retreat. Later, Julia goes to Paul and urges him to take Lucas to the hospital. She also reveals that Lucas has already left the house. Julia follows her instincts and finds Adam and Lucas, while the Wendigo is still there. Its face has transformed to look like Frank, making it even more terrifying. The Wendigo attacks, but Julia intervenes and throws it away from her. As it prepares to strike again, Julia uses a fire stick to hit it and lands a heavy attack on its chest. The Wendigo is injured but not dead. Lucas then comes and stabs it in the chest, causing the creature to collapse. Julia removes its heart, separating it from its body, which was burning unnaturally. They realize that the Wendigo's spirit has transferred from one human to another. Julia admits she's terrified, and she steps back, apologizing to Adam for what's happened. In the final scenes, we see Julia and Paul at a hospital, reflecting on everything that happened. They realize that the Wendigo had somehow entered Lucas through his father, making the threat still very real. Paul warns Julia that the Wendigo could appear again at any time. Julia promises to keep an eye on Lucas and take care of him before leaving. Suddenly, a strange black liquid begins to emerge from Paul's eyes and mouth, hinting that the danger is not entirely over. With this eerie scene, the movie ends. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this movie recap, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.